All right, good day, and thank you for joining us for the second edition of the webinars. And today we've got Jooste Henning with us from the Gravity Group. And the topic that we're going to be discussing today is Demystify, the maintenance plan. It was one of the second most demanding questions that was raised. Jooste, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good day, Saki. It's great to be here.
All right, so today like I said, we're going to be discussing the maintenance plan, but just before we start, we just need to first look at what the Act says about the maintenance plan. Prescribed Management Rule 22 of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act basically requires body corporates to draw up a 10-year maintenance plan in which they estimate the total maintenance costs needed and save towards the required amount. So, Jooste, if we can start jumping into the questions, if you're okay with that.
Great. Thank you so much, Saki. I'd love to jump into it.
All right. The first question, what are the most common flaws in the maintenance plans?
So, Saki, what we're encountering out in the market is that a lot of trustees are attempting to do the 10-year maintenance plan themselves. So even though foundationally it might not be legal or anything, they sometimes have very little to no experience in the construction and maintenance industries. So that means they might miss critical areas that they need to look at in the maintenance plan that are not being done currently. Our suggestion would always be, try get a registered company to come do your 10-year maintenance plan for you. If you're not sure who to use and who to trust out in the market, my suggestion is to make contact with the guys at Besho and my complex, and they will definitely be able to send you in the right direction. So what we also see, as soon as the 10-year maintenance plan has been set up, it's not being adhered to. And that is the most important thing. The 10-year maintenance plan must be a working document. There must be a roadmap ahead for the next 10 years to ensure that your complex stays in a pristine condition. Because ultimately, we need to look at the longevity of your complex and to ensure that we protect that asset and actually grow it in value.
Awesome.
Sometimes, and this is what we're seeing in the market as well, Saki, is that a budget is set up by trustees. We actually suggest that you need to do it the other way around. Do your 10-year maintenance plan and structure your budget in such a way that it can accommodate for your 10-year maintenance plan as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And I think, like you just mentioned, I think there's quite a bit of work to be done within the maintenance plan to make sure that, the costs that has been allocated to certain areas is correct.
Absolutely.
Yes, so the second question that we've got here, what are the key elements to look at in a maintenance plan?
Yeah, Saki, this is actually a question that we receive quite a bit. What areas do they specifically need to look after? My answer will always be is to take an holistic view of your whole complex. We generally start from the roof down. So you look at what type of structure the roof is, first of all, and you look at the ridging. If you look at ridging of a roof, it might look intact from the ground, but you will see all the cement becomes very brittle around the ridging, and that might cause major waterproofing issues and leaks within the units. So we will also always start at the roof, the type of structure, and we work our way down and look at the gutters. So what is critical about the gutters is you need to keep them maintained, because that might incur a lot of cost over the long term for you. So then we would look at the gutters. We would look at the fascia boards that needs to be replaced. We would look at the windows, the structure of the windows, any paint work that needs to be done. We also look at the walls. We also look at critical security issues. So you might have electric fencing. Those need to be maintained on a regular basis and ensure that they're in a working condition. So again, I'm saying this, Saki, we need to take an holistic view of your whole complex, from the roof down all the way down into your common property areas. I prefer not to look at or isolate or single out certain areas, because I might run the risk of leaving out critical areas within your complex that you need to adhere to and look at.
Sure. And then obviously you guys will then do the prioritizing, what is a key element.
Absolutely, Saki. This is very important. If you look at exterior paint, generally the shelf life, if I can call it that, of your exterior paint is about 7 years. So we also take in consideration when last it was painted and when it needs to be painted again. We are well aware that when doing a 10-year maintenance plan, of the lack of funds that are sometimes available within sectional title. So this needs to be spread out over a 10-year period to look at all the maintenance that needs to be done. So every 7 years, we would probably schedule for paint. Depending on the type of waterproofing or structure of your roof, we will suggest 2-year, 5-year, or 10-year review of your roof as well. But this definitely gets staggered over the 10-year period to ensure that all elements of your complex is being looked after.
Oh, awesome! And I think that fits into your first statement that you made, that it's always good to get a specialist or a person at least that got some background to do the maintenance plan.
Definitely, Saki. They will look at critical areas and they know which critical areas to look after. And again, when I call it critical areas, I'm not singling out or isolating any specific areas that take precedence over other areas, but they will know which areas to look after. It's very important that those elements are being taken care of as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that. Jooste, the next question is quite a complex question. And what are the big capital items and maintenance items? I think, within trustees, the meetings that I've been to myself, there is an issue here, to understand what is a big capital item and what is a maintenance item.
Yeah, great question, Saki. We find that quite a bit from bodies corporate, that they ask those type of questions. Our first suggestion will always be that work closely with your managing agent. They will be able to assist you with the terminology and how to split your budget. But let's look at two main funds that are utilized by trustees. Firstly, it's an administrative fund. And then secondly, you have what is called a reserve fund. So if you look at maintenance items, and we also call this day-to-day maintenance sometimes, that would be paid out of your administrative fund. So that would be items like changing of common property light bulbs, faulty gate motors that needs to be changed, leaking taps throughout the complex, and even down to your landscaping and garden services. And again, I'm saying this is why they call it day-to-day type maintenance items, and that gets paid out of your administrative fund. If we look at big capital items, these are items that will be paid by your reserve fund, and your 10-year maintenance plan will include all of those items. Those would be things like repainting the exterior of the complex, replacement of the roof that needs to possibly happen, waterproofing that needs to happen throughout the complex. And this is paid out of your reserve fund that is set up by the trustees. Again, I'm saying this, Saki, work closely with your property managers. They will be able to assist you with all this. Manager agents knows exactly what to do in these type of situations. If you are currently self-managed, my suggestion is to get hold of the guys at my complex, and they'll be able to send you in the right direction.
Oh, awesome. Jooste, and we're heading into winter time now. Have you got any tips for our audience, on maintenance tips for this coming winter?
Definitely, Saki. Winters are usually used for painting and waterproofing projects. Now, even though we do those straight throughout the year, this is generally the season that we allocate for waterproofing and painting. And the main reason for that is purely because in most parts of South Africa, you had very little to no rain throughout the winter season, which makes it conducive to do waterproofing and painting projects. But in saying that, let's not neglect any other areas throughout the complex in the winter seasons. And look at in the summer times already, isolate and single out certain areas that you would like to tackle throughout the winter period, and we'd love to have a look at them for you as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, like you say, I think maintenance needs to be done right through the year. It's just key elements, and key points that you need to look at,
exactly,
specifically in winter time. But thank you for that, Jooste. I totally agree with you on that point. The next question, it's always a debatable point, on geysers. Should geysers be part of your maintenance plan or not?
So geysers generally don't fall under your 10-year maintenance plan. This geysers that burst would fall part of your emergency procedures. And my suggestion is to speak to your broker or the guys from Beshua to tell you exactly what cover you have for your geysers. But geysers itself are not covered under your 10-year maintenance plan. However, general plumbing for your complex is covered in your 10-year maintenance plan. And this should be checked on a regular basis. So one of the things that we do before I just leave geysers completely is if your complex has not done a geyser inspection yet, our suggestion is to do that as soon as possible. Get a registered company in, let them have a look at all the geysers throughout the complex. Have they been correctly installed? Because that is also a big problem that we're seeing within complexes and sectional title, is that because of incorrect installation, we have constant problems with the geysers, and those need to be checked on a regular basis to ensure that they are correct. But getting back to the plumbing section, Saki, plumbing is covered, general plumbing. So your exterior pipes, drains, water outlets, etc., those need to be maintained throughout the 10-year maintenance plan, and provision should be made for that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I think that's quite comprehensively answered that question. Thank you, Jooste.
Pleasure.
Jooste, the cost, and this is a reality, costs are quite high, to run the maintenance of complexes. And, as we know, in this day and age, the complexes, I'm not talking about all the complexes, but some complexes are struggling with levies, people not paying the levies. Yet, the maintenance plan get put in place, and it's difficult to get to that budget, what has been budgeted for. How can people approach this, Jooste?
Yeah, so that's probably the most prevalent detail that we get from most sectional titles, Saki, is the cost of maintenance is quite high. So the cost could possibly be very high because maintenance hasn't been done in quite some time. And it basically snowballed. And this is why the cost is very high. Instead of possibly breaking down those costs over a period, keeping it maintained rather than rebuilding, if I can call it that. But what I'd like to mention firstly about that, Saki, is when you as trustees try to procure quotations for maintenance that need to be done, don't base your approval on the cost alone. And what I mean by that is we find that they have a tendency to go for the cheapest possible quotation. And though that might not always be the wrong thing to do, is my suggestion is always do your homework. Have a chat to other managing agents that they have done work for. Was the contractor then possibly sent to you by your managing agent? Because then they have gone through a whole vetting process to ensure that they offer quality work. So that's one of the first things that I want to mention. Are you also comfortable with the contractor that you choose to do the maintenance at your complex? That is very important. It needs to be someone that you are comfortable with, that you feel happy to work with. Then I'd also like to mention, I know trustees battle to collect levies, and this might sometimes leave them cash-strapped to do capital expenditure maintenance. We covered that a bit earlier, capital expenditure maintenance, which would be items like your waterproofing, exterior painting that needs to happen, etc. So at Gravity Group, we have two ways of assisting sectional title with the funding of this. Firstly, we deal with registered sectional title financiers. We could send them your way and provide the introduction, and they might be able to help you finance any maintenance cost that you might have at your complex. Sometimes this is very necessary, but I think you need to consider all the pros and cons with the financing of sectional title. Secondly, at Gravity specifically, we offer a monthly maintenance plan. And this is an option that will see your project to completion over an agreed period. So what do we mean by that? We look at certain areas that require attention throughout your complex, and we help you with a cost analysis, and either through a 12, 24, 36, 48-month period, we then ensure that this project gets completed over this time. And this really helps a lot with the capital expenditure that you might have as a trustee, because we know these things are very important to look after, but sometimes they might not have all the finances available to do it all in one go. And this is a great product that we can offer as well. I would like to just lastly mention something, Saki, with regards to warranties when you look at the cost that you have to pay for this. There are various types of warranties in place. And our suggestion is always have a chat to your contractor to find out what warranties are in place for the work that needs to be done. There are structural warranties that you need to look after. And those can go up to about 6 months. So any structural work that had to be done would possibly carry up to a 6-month warranty. There's also various types of warranties. If you look at painting, as I mentioned, generally paint will last about 7 years, and the contractor needs to chat to you about any warranty that's in place for that, as well as waterproofing. Some waterproofing products or companies might provide you a 10-year warranty, but they come with certain clauses. And I think you always need to keep that in mind. So those clauses might include having a maintenance code done every 2 years for that warranty to stay in place. And if that maintenance code is not done, the warranty will then fall out of its period and you will not be able to claim under the warranty. So those are very important things that I think everyone needs to look at.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jooste, yeah, no, you touch on quite some important points, and I'm sure this seminar has helped quite a bit of trustees, managing agents, and directors of HOAs on just getting a little bit of a other side of the story, if I can call it that, from a maintenance plan. To sum it up, if I'm correct, Jooste, is that try not do a maintenance yourself. Try and get a person in that is specialized within this industry that can assist you. Not necessarily that you have to go on what they say. Then at least you got information to make informed decisions. I think that is the major thing, from a maintenance plan side. And to sum it up as well, as part of the maintenance plan, there's key elements that you need to look at. And I think at the end of the day, as you said in the beginning, it remains an asset. Your complex or your unit remains an asset. So surely, if you would like to your asset to grow, you need to maintain it. It's pretty much the same. And I normally, if I may use an example, of a vehicle, if you do not maintain a vehicle, the chances of the vehicle getting into a breakdown situation is highly possible. Than what you
exactly that, Saki, and I'm glad you used that analogy. If your vehicle broke down, would you just get anyone from the street that walks past you to go repair your vehicle or even service your vehicle? And mostly the answer would be no. So why are we doing it for our most important assets, our houses and our complexes? Get a registered company in to provide a holistic view of exactly what needs to happen. Let's make the right decisions, and hopefully you have to make the decision only once. There are horror stories out there about contractors gone wrong. And in saying that, do your homework before that. We mentioned it earlier. Do your homework. Speak to the managing agent about the specific contractor that you have in mind. Feel comfortable with the contractor. Phone references if you need to as well. But it's a very important subject that you're touching on, Saki, is let's look after our biggest asset that we've got, which is our own homes.
Yes. Yes, I would just like to also mention that you are one of the contractors on my complex, and rightfully has been vetted and has done quite a bit of work, and we always just have had some good responses. Just on that, how do people get hold of you guys? Can they go through to the My Complex portal?
Yeah, Saki, so I would like to say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. It's always great working with the guys from Beshu and My Complex. If we look at appointing a contractor, firstly, always look at recourse. What recourse do we have available if something goes wrong within the complex? So us being a trusted partner of My Complex, we are also governed and managed by My Complex. So if there are any problems, the management of My Complex can be contacted and the problem can be sorted out. But yes, you're absolutely correct, Saki. If anyone wants to get hold of us or get more information with regards to the maintenance that needs to happen at their complexes, please get hold of My Complex through the portal. We'd love to come meet with you and see how we can help assist you.
Awesome. I will just, also at the end of this presentation, there will be details on My Complex. How to get hold of Jooste and them from Gravity Group, and where to go and click. But Jooste, I want to thank you for your time awarded to me this today. I'm sure that we have demystified the element of the maintenance plan, because at the end of the day, like I always say, it's better to be proactive and get things right. And as I mentioned right in the beginning at the first webinar, that at the moment, for us being in the insurance and being specialists in the sectional title industry, the key thing that normally goes wrong is when an assessor asks for a maintenance plan, because according to the Act, it says that you already had to have your maintenance plan in place. And in fact, as from 2016, and it's shocking sometimes to find out when we get to a claim that when an assessor asks for a maintenance plan, that has not been adhered to as yet. So, but thank you so much for your time, Jooste. I'm sure that you have given us some fruitful thought, and all the best for you and the Gravity Group.
Thank you very much, Shaki. Again, thank you for this opportunity. We love being a partner of My Complex, and thank you so much.
Any help that you might need on the maintenance plan, please go to www.mycomplex.net, click onto the help button, and then onto maintenance plan, and submit your query. Thank you so much.